You are nothing to me anymore. Never step foot in this house again.
I was shouted at by my father, and supported by John, my soon-to-be husband. I left my family home in tears. It was right after I graduated from high school. My name is Amy. I'm a 36-year-old farmer. This year marks 18 years since I left my family home. From now on, the time I spend living my own chosen life will be longer than the time I spent in my family home. And this thought makes me quite sentimental. My family home was in a city. My father was a corporate worker, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. We were a family of 4, including my brother and me, who was born a year ahead of me. My parents were the kind of people who ranked their children clearly, so my brother, being the heir, was always given priority. The quality of our meals and the grandeur of our birthday presents were always superior for my brother. He boasted about his superiority and always bullied me. There were times when I felt lonely, and there were times when I cried out, "I want attention too!" But my parents never changed, so I gave up completely. The event that changed my life happened in the summer of my second year of high school. My brother was studying for a college entrance exam, aiming for a top-tier university. His mock exam results were not good at all, so he was always on edge, taking out his frustration on me at every opportunity. My parents, as if handling a fragile object, treated my brother with utmost care and gave me household chores that didn't allow me to have time to study. Because I was performing better academically than my brother, they tried to lower my grades to improve my brother's mood. It didn't make any sense. At that time, I heard about a rural experience program from a teacher. At the high school I was attending, students could participate in a 2-night, 3-day rural experience program if they wished. Participants stay at a host farm, harvest vegetables, cook together, and experience country life. I, who was troubled by my family environment, decided to participate bravely. But my father objected, saying, "Agriculture is something only fools who can't get corporate jobs do for a living." And my mother scoffed at me, saying, "Are you crazy? Willingly experiencing manual labor? Getting dirty and stinky in the mud?" But I defied my parents' opposition and used the pocket money I had saved up to sign up. This was the first time I had ever refused to do as my parents said. It turned out to be an excellent decision. For me, who was starving for familial love, it was truly a wonderful experience. Working in the fresh, rural air was invigorating, and I was able to experience the warmth of a family. The eldest son of that family, John, was a year older than me and the same age as my brother. At first, I was a bit wary, simply because he was an older guy. But John was completely different from my brother. He was kind, but firm, got along well with his parents, and was kind to me as well. John's parents were truly gentle people, and even though it was only for 3 days, I cried a lot when I had to leave the farm. John's mom cried along with me, saying, "You're welcome back anytime." I promised, I will definitely come back. They said they didn't look at their cell phones much, so I wrote them letters regularly. Before long, I started receiving more replies from John, and it became like an exchange diary, and we started dating. It was a pure long-distance relationship, without even a kiss. After my brother failed to get into his first-choice university, and ended up in a third-rate private college, I became a college applicant, but my parents pressured me to get a job instead of going to college. The reason, they said, was that women didn't need an education. But the real reason was probably that they didn't want me to go to a better college than my brother. Since the rural experience, I had a dream of becoming a farmer. I could become a farmer without going to college, but John was a college student and had moved to the city. So I thought I would go to college and aim for a new kind of farming. Having a clear goal and purpose, I studied hard every day, despite interference from my parents and brother. However, when I passed the university entrance examination, my father was furious, saying, "Are you
A woman planning to go to a better university than your brother?
My mother also said, "We don't have money to spend on you. Your brother needs money, so you should work and bring money home." I was desolate by my parents' words, and after a huge fight, I ended up cutting off all ties with them. John came to pick me up from home, and his parents, now my in-laws, supported my college expenses, and I ended up attending college. 4 years later, I married John. I never contacted my parents or brother during my college years, but when my in-laws said, "We have to at least give them a heads up about the marriage," we visited my childhood home for the first time in 4 years. Right after graduation, things were chaotic, and it was also planting season, so we couldn't make the visit until the beginning of summer. My in-laws, my husband, and I all had sunburnt, darkened faces from working outside, but my parents and brother openly ridiculed us. My mother asked, "No offense, but how old are you exactly? You must be quite poor to be working until you're all dark like this." I was mortified. "Please, stop, Mom," I implored in a small voice, but she ignored me. My brother smirked and said, "Smart people like me make money with intellectual work. If you can only do primitive work, it's proof you're unintelligent." I turned pale, and the gentle smiles on my in-laws' faces froze. My husband firmly declared, "With all due respect, we are proud to be farmers." My father laughed condescendingly and said to me, "Just to make it clear, you're a stranger to us from now on. You're marrying a poor farmer who has to sweat and work hard. We're going to treat you as if you don't exist. It'll be a problem if you come asking us for money. We don't want to see you anymore." Already being disowned at 18, I knew very well that I was on my own, even without being told so explicitly again. Still, I had tried to maintain the courtesies. The sympathetic looks from my in-laws and John were difficult to bear. On the way home, I quietly wept and resolved to forget about my biological family. Time flew, and before I knew it, 18 years had passed. The emotional wounds had thoroughly healed. I had given birth to 2 children, and my days were busy but fulfilling. Although I had virtually erased the memories of my parents and my brother, I was informed by a cousin that my brother was getting married. My cousin and I have always been close, and we occasionally touched base even after my marriage. At some point, I had sent them rice harvested from our farm, and they were pleased with its taste, even becoming a regular purchaser. Therefore, we maintained a relationship, and we enjoyed chatting on the phone about once a month. "We can meet after a long time at the wedding," my cousin said, but I hadn't heard anything about the marriage from my parents or my brother. Well, since we're estranged, it's true that there's no way for me to know. "I heard they are building a new duplex. I wonder if it's completed." Apparently, both my parents and my brother and his wife planned to move after the wedding. My cousin knew about the estrangement between my parents and me, but they seemed to think that I would attend weddings and funerals. After finishing the phone call with my cousin, impulsively, I dialed my mother's cell phone number. However, I was met with an automated message saying, "This number is no longer in use." I tried calling my father next, and again, the same automated message. Had they changed their cell phone numbers? I didn't know my brother's number, so I couldn't call him. With trembling fingers, I dialed the landline for my family home, and it connected. My heart pounding, I waited for someone to pick up. "Hello?" It was my brother who answered. "Brother? It's Amy. I heard you're getting married and moving." I hesitated over what to say next, about to offer congratulations when I was cut off by my brother. "There's no need for you to do anything. You, a farmer, are a stranger to me. Don't call me." My brother just yelled and hung up the phone. I rushed to call him back, only to find that I was already blocked. This was harsh. No matter how much he hated me, we were still family. It hurt to be rejected like this. Seeing my distress, my husband was concerned and gently asked, What's wrong? Did something happen? I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. When I told him about the conversation, both my husband and my in-laws were as furious as if it had happened to them.
Your home is here, Amy. Your family is us here, my mother-in-law reassured me.
Her words moved me to tears. I wish she was my real mom. She cared about me much more than my blood-related mother did. My father-in-law also comforted me, saying, "You're happy now. That's all that matters. No need to get hurt. The one who laughs is the winner." My husband added, "Let's take them as a bad example and make sure we don't turn out like that." Even our children, not knowing the situation, hugged me tightly. Thank you, everyone. I felt a warmth in my heart, realizing how happy I was now, even though I wasn't blessed with a supportive biological family. However, things took a drastic turn when my business was featured on national television. My in-laws were originally large-scale grain farmers in the American Midwest. They also grew a wide variety of vegetables and fruits, but a lot of produce didn't meet the standards. I had studied food business in college and spent a lot of time figuring out how to sell all the produce without any waste. I started an online business selling jams, juices, and pickles made from slightly damaged fruits and vegetables that couldn't be sold as they were. Backed by the local farmers union, my business was a huge success. It was a hit with moms who wanted to feed their children safe, domestically produced food, and seniors who wanted to taste nostalgic homemade pickles. I built up the company with young women who, like me, had married into farming families and unemployed young people. It had grown into a $5 million business. Our success story was covered in an in-depth report. After the TV broadcast, we received a lot of attention and calls from various people. In addition to orders and inquiries, there were calls for business transactions and interview requests. Both the company's phone and my personal smartphone wouldn't stop ringing. So when a call came in from an unknown number, I picked it up without thinking. But surprisingly, it was my brother. I suppose he's seen the national television as well. He must have heard about my success. Barely exchanging greetings, he said, "I'm thinking of starting a business. Can you lend me some money?" Excuse me? My answer to that would be no. I felt a strong aversion and coldly rejected his request before hanging up. Then he called again. "Stop arguing and give me the money. If a woman like you can start a business and make money, I'm bound to be successful," my brother incessantly screams. That's not how someone who wants to borrow money should behave, and I wonder where he gets that confidence. It's funny, because it was my brother who said that I, a simple farmer, was a total stranger to him. I didn't respond to my brother, but instead I asked something that had been on my mind for a while. "Hey, who decided not to tell me about the move?" "Huh? Of course, it was me. My wife, she's a city girl. The moment I mentioned you, she said we should cut ties." So, that's how it was. I didn't want to hear more, so I hung up and blocked his number. I realized that my brother's wife, whom I never met, seemed to have the same character as my brother and my parents. The fact that my brother saw me on TV might mean that my parents saw it too. A few hours later, when I thought I was getting another call from an unknown number, it turned out to be my father. "Why are you the boss? Did you steal a man's job?" he demanded. I answered, "Well, both John and my father-in-law are involved in the farming business, so it's only natural." In reality, it's called large-scale consolidation, and it's become advantageous to incorporate if you're a somewhat large farm. My father-in-law is the president of the local agricultural association, and John has incorporated his in-law share and is the president of that corporation. Maybe my explanation convinced him, because then he said, "You're distant. Why didn't you contact us?" I was dumbfounded inside and responded, "It was you who disowned me. I'm hanging up now." And I hung up and blocked his number. A few minutes later, I got a call from my mother. "Why aren't you giving your brother money? You're making $500 million a year, aren't you? Send money home.
We're your real family. Have you forgotten all the favors we've done for you, raising you up? At least give us 300 million. Or at least 250 million.
My mother was the most aggressive of all. Even though the business makes $500 million, that's total revenue. After paying for expenses and employee salaries, I barely have any left over. I exaggerated a bit, and my mother instantly retorted,
"You're lying! There's no way that's true!"
I was getting irritated. My mother persistently demanded money, but I wondered if she wasn't embarrassed. "I'm not going to send money, whether I have it or not. We're strangers," I said, then hung up and blocked her number, of course. I thought that was the end, but I was wrong. My parents and my brother, and my brother's wife, who I had never seen before, showed up uninvited at my in-laws' house. My father said, "Hey Amy, you want to hear the surprise? I'm revoking the disownment." I was stunned at how desperate they were for money. My mother-in-law asked, "What on earth is going on with you people?" Expressing their discomfort. Even my father-in-law and mother-in-law were glaring at my parents in silence, and the employees around had gathered, looking at my parents with stunned faces. My brother must know he is not welcome here either. "Huh? The real blood-connected family is us. We have the right to get the money you earn too." The woman who seemed to be my brother's wife nodded in agreement with his words. I was furious.
"I don't think so.
Even though we had a blood connection, there was no emotional connection at all. You treated me like a stranger and abandoned me. The emotional scars from being abandoned by my biological family were revived, and I was on the verge of tears again. At that moment, John came and stood next to me. "Amy is now a part of our family. Even without you disowning her, we are perfectly happy. Please go home." He defended me and declared firmly. The employees also criticized my parents in unison.
"Exactly! What are you thinking? How rude."
There are many people on my side here. When I thought this is where I belong, I felt profoundly happy. My brother began to get angry. "Shut up! Shut up, you country bumpkins! You're all low-educated trash, aren't you? Obey what we say in silence," he ranted. Then John replied, "Well, both I and my father are Ivy League graduates, and Amy has graduated from a well-known university for agriculture," casually revealing our educational background. "What? Despite being graduates of top universities, why are you farming?" my brother yelled in surprise. Perhaps for my brother, who graduated from a low-ranking university, the title of university graduate was his only pride, and he probably didn't expect to lose in terms of educational background. With a cool face, John said, "Farming is a respectable profession. We can fully utilize what we've studied in college." I couldn't help but burst into laughter at that scene. Brother, you've lost to John in everything. I managed to laugh and somehow felt relieved. Maybe I was too afraid of my brother and parents. Let me say this clearly one last time. We are already strangers. I stopped speaking for a moment, deliberately changing to a polite tone. "So I can't lend or give money to strangers. Please leave. If you make a fuss or act violently, I'll call the police and take legal action." I declared our severance clearly. My in-laws and husband subtly came closer to me to protect me from harm by my parents and brother. I was deeply moved, feeling truly cherished. The employees also shouted at my parents, "Get out of here! Go home!" My parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law glared at us with resentment, but they couldn't say anything more and could only retreat. Afterward, according to a story I heard from my cousin, my brother and parents tried to get rich quick and started a business with debts instead of borrowing money from me, but their arrogant character led to a big failure. Now, they seem to be on the verge of bankruptcy, but I'm a stranger now, and I have no intention of getting involved anymore. As for me, my work is going well, and I'm surrounded by a true family of respectable in-laws, a loving husband, and adorable children. I will cherish each day while savoring the happiness of life.